is Stanley Okwe. I work within the Northern Egg Catchment Council. My role is a regional Landcare facilitator. This role is funded by the Australian government, and this role was created to help facilitate Landcare activities in the Northern Agricultural region, and particularly in the area of sustainable farming practice. And this bus tour is part of this the work that I have been doing to deliver on this role. We ran the tour from the Ndaragan through to the coast, because we also believe that Landcare means coastal care, so that the community can see some of the issues that we are confronting in the region, and the effort that have gone to rehabilitate the land. Thank you.
The other coastal management issue that's often lost with these blowouts is that the sand there's a couple of things. The sand that's lost out of this system won't go back into the beach system, or is unlikely to. Our sand dunes act as sand reserves, and the sand will blow, or the wind will blow the sand up and down the coast, and it maintains the natural beach systems that a lot of governments and local communities actually destroyed their sand dunes. You go to the Gold Coast, they spend millions of dollars every year to maintain their beach systems, and here we don't have to. But this is a risk to loss of sand out of our system. You might think there's a lot of sand in our system anyway, but there's actually not. On the East Coast, they get all of their sand and sediment out of their rivers, and on the West Coast, all of our sand, or the majority of our sand, comes from the seagrass meadows and from coral breakdown as well. There's not a lot coming from our rivers on this coast. So sand is really important here, and it's important to maintain it in the beach system. The other thing is that as the sand migrates, if you go back over to the other side of the dune in a minute, you'll notice that the species change as the sand is migrating inland, and that's because the sand is covering the smaller species that are usually the secondary dune species, because that's becoming a primary dune area now, because the sand is shifting back, and so that's changing the whole dynamics of this area, and it's not natural to change it like that, because it has been human induced. So that's why we're supportive of rehabilitating this area. The Shire has been quite supportive. They came down on the site visits. If one party does it, that we don't benefit from everyone's input. Then they're like people like Mick. You know, the knowledge that Mick has of this area is really important, and that's why people like me who've been here 2 years can't come in and impose my ideas on it, because it'd be silly to not listen to that knowledge that's here already. And I think that a lot of the local community already have a lot of the solutions to some of these issues. We just come in and give a little bit of technical expertise, and also help these guys get the project going. So going to be a little species identification activity. We've got these coastal plan pocket guides. I don't know if everyone's seen one of these. So look out for some coloured ribbon, and if you can't find it, we'll point it out. If you can just have a look, try and identify 2 or 3 different species. Maybe put a sticker that Kiara's handing out on the page, and we'll have a bit of a chat about that on the bus on the way to Lake Thetis, and Kiara will talk us through some of the native vegetation that we see in the coastal area.
I suppose firstly, my name's Brad Rushforth, as Stanley just said. I'm currently the Senior Ranger for the Moora District. Lake Thetis itself used to be a Shire Reserve for many years, and it came across to Conservation Estates in 2007. So it was, we started the planning process, and then during that time it basically came across to Conservation Estate. Now it's now categorised as part of Nambung National Park, which is of course home to the Pinnacles Desert, which everyone's probably familiar with. Now before we actually sort of did the project, it was all pretty ad hoc. There was one gravel road that came in. Now the signage was pretty ordinary. It was, there was some nice descriptive stuff about what the stromatolites were all about. But yeah, there wasn't too much imagination, and generally speaking, they weren't upgraded, so they got a bit beaten up over the years. So what we basically do in the department, we've got a team of landscape architects based out of Perth. Also got a sign design studio down there. So as project manager, I was sort of responsible for pulling all those different resources together to produce the project, along with Sue Hancock and George Watson and some various other sort of people through the department. So basically what we did, we pulled the vehicles back, we created a new car park back there. We also wanted to provide some sort of a walk trail to go around the lake. There's lots about Lake Thetis, so I'll just try and touch across some of it, but it's mainly an area of sort of bacterial communities, if you like. The stromatolites themselves, you can read about it on the signage you see around the place, but they're basically the result of cyanobacteria, if you like, or the blue-green algae, some of the earliest forms of life on Earth. They're still living. You'll see around the base of the actual stromatolites themselves, the structure is a little bit darker. The bacteria actually needs to be wet to actually sort of activate itself. It's starting to sort of go into its sort of dormant period, if you like. When the water sort of runs back out again in summer, they'll just sort of sit there until the water comes back in again in winter, and the whole process will start again. They grow at about 1 centimetre per 100 years, and you can get a fairly good idea that these are fairly old. They've been sort of aged at between 3,500 and 4,500 years old, each of them. So they've been around for a long time, and they've been sort of fairly well recognised internationally as one of the best forms of the stromatolite structure as such, still going in Western Australia, if not Australia. So it's a reasonably important site for geologists around the place as well.
Okay, everybody, this is Graham Sutherland. This is his farm, and before I hand it over to Graham, I just wanted to explain that West Midlands area is the soils here, as you can see, the light sandy soils, and we also have some sandplain yellowy soils as well. It's also quite windy here, and it's undulating country, so wind erosion is also, water erosion is also a problem here. Graham's been farming in the Badgingarra area for the past 40 years and came here to this particular farm 6 years ago.
It's supposed to be about a third of it is white, sort of sandy soil, which firstly used to grow nothing.
Graham, is this sort of matting effect? It seems to me that that's what's holding the sand, isn't it?
That's an old annual one. But what I find is happening over the years, it does mat up, and then we're starting to get clovers and sort of the annual type start to come back into it.
So you got the Gatton Panic, it's your clumping grass. Now, with the Northern Sandplain mix, there are 2 different companies that do the Sandplain mix. Heritage has got 60% of your Gatton Panic in it. It's then got 20% of your rose grass, which is your running grass, and 20% of your signal grass. Now, so your Gatton Panic is the most palatable out of all your grasses, so it's the first thing that gets hit when you put your stock in here. It also, unfortunately, has the photosensitivity issues, so you do need to watch that. Rhodes grass is fantastic. It is the first thing that comes up. It grows really well in the first year, gives you your most biomass production in the first year. However, after the first year it kind of peters out a little bit and it's overtaken with your gat. That's on your first year. This is what will stop your sand from blowing. So, really good.
I just think that these perennials are the best thing that's happened out in the West Midlands as far as controlling our erosion problems, and it's converting country that was worth not very much money onto something that's very valuable.
I'll now introduce you to Bruce and Pauline Cook. Put a lot of effort into fencing off this area. As you can see, it's quite a pristine bit of bush. Bruce and Pauline have been farming here since the 1970s. They run a mixed farming enterprise, both sheep and grain. And yeah, I'll hand it over to Bruce and Pauline to explain a bit further.
We bought this place in '73, and this bush here was virtually untouched at that stage, apart from the original people who cleared the land, took fencing material out of here. It's been protected ever since by, we've kept the stock off, and also it's got poison in there, so that's been a big incentive to keep it pristine as well. We were under pressure to take the poison out in the 80s to use it for stock feed, but we resisted, and we've left it as it is. This fencing project is probably something that would have happened anyway, but it's been a great help to get the money to do it, and as you can see now, we can shift stock along here without them running off into the bush, and also we have a good opportunity for fire risk management here as well, which is a big thing for us. Given what happened at Badgingarra last summer, a lot of good valuable Wandoo bush was burnt, and it'll take a long time to recover.
What sort of wildflowers do you have in there, and are you expecting others to come back?
Yeah, they'll come back quite well, I'm sure. There's a range of orchids and insect catchers, and it's a good mix through there.